We invite you to watch how we clear the views on all matters through our partner station MITV on DSTV channel 255, 7 p.m. daily, and also our YouTube and Facebook pages under one name, Clearview News Desk every day. We call it The People's News, as we are available to come over and cover your events upon notice. Or do you have news you want us to broadcast? Send it in. We verify and go to town with it. All for you. Go ahead, engage us to thrash out those naughty issues on the news. And what we need from you is to share and subscribe. More important, convince your loved ones, friends, relatives, co-worshippers, and more to subscribe so as to be getting notifications as we break the news. Go a step further, like the news, and drop your thoughts on the comment section. Clearview News. We clear the view one time and for all time.
Hello and welcome to Clearview News Desk. We are reaching you live from Nigeria's capital city, Abuja. First, the headlines. As Canada appoints female chief of defense staff, Clearview News Desk wonders when this feat can be achieved in Nigeria. Spain sprints into fourth final after defeating France in Euro 2024 semi-final. Stands by to face winner of England vs Netherlands semi-finals. Nigerians raise concern over controversial Samoa agreement as reps call on the federal government to suspend its implementation. I am Gloria Atta with these and more. Welcome. La Roja of Spain on Tuesday night spinned off Le Bleu of France in the semi-final for the Euro 24 in a 2-1 victory to go into the finals to be played on Sunday. France broke the ice with a goal from Kolo Muani, who released a powerful header in the 8th minute for France's first goal in open play at the Euro 2024, as Barca's golden boy Lamine Yamal dazzled with leg walk before scoring the equalizer in the 21st minute for Spain off a Morata assist, making him become the youngest goal scorer at a major tournament World Cup or Euros at age 16 years and 362 days. Dani Olmo of Spain connected a pass and shot up the leg of Koundé of France into goal just in the 25th minute for the winner and his third goal at Euro 2024, opening him up for a possible Golden Boot award. Meanwhile, the winner of the England vs Netherlands will face Spain in the grand finale on Sunday, 14th July at 8 p.m. Nigerian time at the Olympic Stadium in Berlin. Away from sports, the Canadian government last week announced the appointment of Lieutenant General Jenny Carignan as the country's new Chief of Defense Staff, making her the first woman to be appointed as the topmost commander in the Canadian military. This feat certainly marks the beginning of a new era for female military personnel in the country. The development has brought to the fore questions on whether such a move can be replicated in this part of the world, especially in a patriarchal society like Nigeria. We have a commentary. History was made on Wednesday, July 3rd, 2024, when Canada appointed a woman to head its military. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on Wednesday named Lieutenant General Jenny Carignan as Chief of the Defense Staff as part of his continued support to appoint women to top positions in the country. Lieutenant General Jenny Carignan, who is currently leading the military's reform efforts to stamp out ingrained sexism and misconduct in the armed forces as head of conduct and culture change, will on July 18, 2024, replace General Wayne Irie as the head of Canada's military and will become the first woman to serve in that role. Carignan, originally a military engineer, has commanded troops in Afghanistan, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Iraq and Syria during her 35 years in the army and has displayed exceptional leadership qualities, commitment to excellence and dedication to service in the armed forces, according to Tradio in a statement. Carignan has joined the list of women who are shattering glass ceilings in male-dominated fields like the military. The trailblazing Rear Admiral Antoinette Wemyss Gorman of the Jamaican military was the only female chief of defense staff in the world before her. During Rear Admiral Wemyss Gorman's 30-year naval career, she became the first female officer to serve at sea, the first woman to reach the rank of commander in the JDF, and the first woman to be appointed to a frontline combat role in the Caribbean. Following her appointment as the Jamaican military's top soldier, Rear Admiral Wemyss Gorman has been pivotal in changing the culture towards women who serve in the Jamaican military, leading the way for Jamaican women to excel in military careers. Similarly, Slovenia in 2018 appointed Major General Alenka Ermenk as Chief of the Army, making her the only woman in charge of a NATO country's military. Ermenk was the first woman Chief of General Staff of the Slovenian Army. And recently in Africa, Kenya's President William Ruto appointed the first female commander of the Kenyan Air Force, Major General Fatuma Gaiti Ahmed, as the first woman in Kenya's history to head one of the military services. She was appointed alongside other leaders, including a new head of the armed forces following the death of the military chief and others in a helicopter crash last month. Meanwhile, Major General Ahmed has previously held other positions in the military leadership dominated by men. She was the first woman to rise to the rank of brigadier and major general. With these feats being recorded around the world, Clearview News Desk wonders the possibility of such a record being replicated in a country like Nigeria, where women are still clamoring for equal representation in public offices and other male-dominated sectors like politics, security, science, and technology. Due to its highly religious and conservative nature, women in the Nigerian military are still being excluded from serving in certain combat arms positions. In 2017, President Muhammadu Buhari ratified the National Defense Policy 2017, Harmonized Terms and Conditions of Service Officers 2017, which ended the admission of female cadets into the combatant course of the Nigerian Defense Academy, further streamlining the chances of women rising to the pinnacle of their careers. Although female officers like Aderonke Kale, a Nigerian Army psychiatrist, who became the first female Major General in the Nigerian Army and the first woman to command the Nigerian Army Medical Corps, and Rear Admiral Itunu Hotunu, the first woman to attain the exalted rank of a Rear Admiral in the history of the Nigerian Navy, among others, have been setting the pace in the force. Clearview News is still concerned about Nigeria's readiness to hand over key combat arms and positions of the military to women, given the multifaceted security challenges bedeviling the country. The controversial Samoa agreement has become a cause of concern for many Nigerians. Since the breaking of the news about the federal government signing of the agreement, many have been questioning what it entails. On November 15, 2023, the European Union and member states signed a new partnership agreement, which was referred to as the Samoa Agreement. About 27 member states from the EU signed the agreement, with 79 African, Caribbean, and Pacific countries also involved. The member states that signed the agreements are called the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States, also known as OACPS. Clearview's Florence Joshua brings us details. A local newspaper had reported that the Samoa Agreement, signed by the Nigerian government, contains clauses that mandate lesbianism, gay, bisexual, and transgender rights. The newspaper's report was premised on an opinion article by a Lagos-based lawyer, Sonny Ekwowusi, who wrote that articles of the agreement systematically legalizes LGBTQ, thus prompting the House of Representatives' Tuesday's call on the federal government to suspend the implementation of the Samoa Agreement until all controversial clauses are clearly defined to avoid any violation of Nigeria's laws. The House Deputy Minority Leader, Aliyu Madaki, argued that the agreement Article 2.5 states that parties shall systematically promote a gender perspective and ensure that gender equality is mainstreamed across all countries. He insists the phrase gender equality, as reported, is a Trojan horse for deceptively bringing in all sorts of immorality to the country, as gender no longer means two sexes, male and female, as traditionally understood. It now includes homosexuality, lesbianism, transgenderism, and bestiality. The signing of such an agreement with the aforementioned clauses, if true, violates Nigeria's sovereignty and is a clear contravention of Section 7 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. The federal government may have signed the agreement without exhaustive consultations and considerations for possible long-term consequences. However, Clearview reviewed the 172-page document and discovered that the agreement does not contain LGBTQ clauses as claimed by the lawyer, but rather focused only on addressing global challenges. The Samoa Agreement serves as a vital legal framework for cooperation between the OACPS and the European Union, with the aim of promoting sustainable development, fighting climate change, its effects, generating investment opportunities, and fostering increased collaboration among OACPS member states at the international stage. First, the multilateral agreement is called the Samoa Agreement based on the location of its signing, which is the island of Samoa on Oceania, during the 46th session of the African, Caribbean, and Pacific countries with the European Union Council of Ministers. Secondly, the agreement signed by Nigeria and other members is based on 6 key priorities to tackle the main challenges in the member countries over the next 2 decades. And lastly, the priorities include human rights, democracy and governance, peace and security, human and social development, inclusivity, sustainable economic growth and development, environmental sustainability and climate change, and migration and mobility. The most important principle of the agreement is that the parties shall make decisions and undertake actions at the most appropriate domestic, regional, or multi-country level. Therefore, no lesbianism, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer clause is contained in the agreement. The Samoa Agreement is a veritable instrument for Nigeria's development and cooperation with the EU beyond aid. The OACPS-EU partnership is one of the most diverse and multifaceted development paths in the international system.
The nation's fuel shortage appears to have worsened yesterday as filling stations ran out of stocks, thus shutting their gates against motorists and other users of the product. It was gathered that across the country there were long queues at filling stations as panic buying continued. Meanwhile, illegal operators were also seen hawking the product due to the absence of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Regulatory Authority, NIMDRA, industry regulator to enforce compliance. Also, in the nation's capital, Abuja, petrol supply situation grew worse yesterday as more filling stations also ran out of stock, while black marketers hiked their price to 1,500 naira per litre. However, NNPC retail mega station and NIPCO stations continue to dispense with long queues at their stations located in Cairo, Airport Road, and the central business district of the nation's capital. The supply difficulty, which the NNPC Limited blamed on logistics challenge and flooding in the coastal areas, continued into the 6th day, despite assurances from government officials that the challenges were being resolved. Now, the House of Representatives has announced the passing of Honorable Olaide Adewale Akinremi, popularly known as Jagaban, who represented Ibadan North Federal Constituency under the platform of the All Progressives Congress APC. Spokesperson of the House, Honorable Akin Rotimi, said in a statement that Akinremi was a distinguished and ranking member of the 10th Assembly who served as chairman of the House Committee on Science Research Institutions. The late member passed in the early hours of today after a brief illness at the age of 51. May his soul rest in peace. Now, the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Abdullahi Ganduje, his wife Hafsat, and 6 others are set to appear before a Kano State High Court on Thursday. They face charges related to alleged bribery, diversion, and misappropriation of funds amounting to billions of naira. The Kano State government initiated the suit before Justice Amina Adamu Aliyu. The court had earlier granted permission on June 5 to serve. The respondents in the case include Abdullahi Ganduje, his wife Hafsat, Abubakar Bawuro, Umar Abdullahi Umar, Jibrila Muhammad, Lamash Properties Limited, Safari Textiles Limited, and Lesage General Enterprises. At the previous court session, only Nuraini Jimo San represented the 6th respondent, Lamash Properties Limited. The other respondents, including Ganduje, were not represented. Justice Amina Adamu Aliyu therefore scheduled the hearing for July 11. If you are just joining us, you're watching the news on Clearview News Desk. We will be back after this break. Stay with us. Tolerance isn't about not having beliefs. It's about how your beliefs lead you to treat people who disagree with you. Welcome back. Mental health is essential to a healthy life. However, billions of people around the world struggle with feelings of anxiety, fear, isolation, and depression, lacking access to the quality care and support they need. Statistics show that about 25 to 30% of Nigerians today suffer from mental illnesses, and less than 10% of this population have access to professional health assistance. To this end, experts are calling for a total overhaul of the mental health sector in Nigeria to ensure that citizens get the maximum care to enable them carry out their day-to-day activities. Let's now join Clearview's correspondent for details.
The crisis of mental illness across the world is on the increase, rapidly affecting the society and putting a heavy burden on the healthcare systems. Mental health issues are widespread in every society and country across every continent. At least 1 in 4 people are affected by mental illness at some point in their lives, with women more likely than men to be diagnosed. Data from the World Health Organization shows that 1 in every 8 people in the world live with a mental disorder which involves significant disturbances in thinking, emotional regulation, or behavior of an individual. A significant number of the population, as much as 70%, do not receive treatment for mental illness due to lack of resources, trained health workers, and in many cases, the social stigma around mental health care. In Nigeria, the case is no different, as about 25 to 30% of citizens suffer from mental illnesses, and less than 10% of this population have access to professional assistance. The World Health Organization estimates that only about 3% of the government's budget on health goes to mental health. Decrying the situation in an interview with Clearview News Desk, Angela Brown, a nurse, life coach, and motivational speaker, said the disparity between the demand and supply of mental health services, as well as lack of policies and information aimed at addressing mental health issues in Nigeria, have made it difficult to identify areas of needs, coordinate activities of advocacy groups, and make an informed decision about policy direction.
It's really sad because in Nigeria we really don't have adequate mental health treatment. You know, the last lunacy law was just remodeled, was just redone like 2 years ago. But before it was the lunacy law from 1950s, So we're making baby steps, but we haven't gotten to where we need to go. And I really urge Nigeria, the lawmakers, to please find a way to tackle this mental health. There's a lot of suicides going on in Nigeria. As of 2017, Nigeria, I think, was ranked 3rd in the world, if I'm right. I'm not very clear on it, but I think that's what it was. there are many unreported deaths from depression and suicide. We don't have enough resources. The doctors don't even know what to do. There are limited psychologists. Therapy is a joke here, and we really need to work on it. The facilities, majority of them are non-existent. Mental health is just emerging, okay? They're non-existent. We have a couple of resources. We also have a lot of NGOs that quote unquote act like they are doing mental health, but they really are not.
She also advocates for more action from government and relevant stakeholders in improving Nigeria's mental health sector so as to address the growing mental health issues in the country.
Mental illness is usually genetic or trauma-induced, okay? So when we're talking about mental illness now, we're talking about things like anxiety disorder, schizophrenia, compulsive obsessive disorders, bipolar. Those are all mental illnesses, and they're usually genetic, and sometimes they could be caused by trauma or other underlying things like drug abuse, So people need to understand that, and we really don't take into cognizance that mental health is a problem in this country, because we really need to understand that if you're not in the right headspace, you can't give what you don't have. And a lot of us are going through issues, and because of the stigma associated with mental health, nobody really pays attention. So we need to create a lot of awareness and understand what you can look for, okay? Like, somebody that is having a lot of anxiety all the time, not related to anything, reach out, speak to your practitioner, your doctor, or talk to a therapist and see what's going on, because through that we may find out what's going on or able to diagnose and help you out. Somebody that is bipolar may not even understand that they're bipolar. Their friends may be jokingly say, oh, you're bipolar, because of the changes in the moods and the changes in behavior. And when you have those changes, you can explain why. Seek the attention of a therapist or a medical physician to kind of help you. And if you're feeling really bad, don't ignore it. Forget about the stigma associated with mental health. The time is now to reach out, talk about it, have the conversation, and take care of you.
Mental health care generally refers to services ranging from assessment, diagnosis, treatment to counseling, dedicated to maintaining and restoring mental well-being of people. Angela Brown therefore urged citizens to be more vocal about their mental health challenges and seek care when necessary. Gloria Atta, reporting for Clearview News.
And on the foreign scene, 3 people have been reportedly killed by Russian forces in southern Ukraine and the Black Sea port of Odessa this Wednesday. According to reports, Russia has carried out nightly attacks on cities across Ukraine since launching its invasion in February 2022. The aggressor targeted port infrastructure in the Odessa region. Meanwhile, the Southern Defense Forces said that a ballistic missile and 4 guided missiles were launched at the southern port by Russian forces. However, the missiles did not reach their targets. Separately, a 62-year-old man was killed in Russian shelling in the southern city of Nikopol. The Air Force disclosed that 14 out of 20 drones launched over Ukraine were destroyed. The news comes 2 days after a rare daytime attack on the Ukrainian capital killed 34 people, according to an updated toll from Kyiv military administration. And that's the news. But before we go, a recap of the top stories.
The Canadian government last week announced the appointment of Lieutenant General Jenny Carignan as the country's new Chief of Defense Staff, making her the first woman to be appointed as the topmost commander in the Canadian military, marking a new era for female military personnel in the country. La Roja of Spain on Tuesday night spinned off Le Bleu of France in the semi-final of the Euro 2024 in a 2-1 victory to go into their 4th finals to be played on Sunday.
Nigeria's House of Representatives has called on the federal government to suspend the implementation of the Samoa Agreement until all controversial clauses in the agreement are clearly defined to avoid any violation of Nigeria's laws.
You can follow up on latest events and happenings around you via our social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Clearview News Desk or via our handle on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Clearview Online. Many thanks for joining us. I am Gloria Atta. Bye for now.
We invite you to watch how we clear the views on all matters through our partner station MITV on DSTV channel 255, 7 p.m. daily, and also our YouTube and Facebook pages under one name, Clearview News Desk every day. We call it the People's News, as we are available to come over and cover your events upon notice. Or do you have news you want us to broadcast? Send it in. We verify and go to town with it. All for you. Go ahead, engage us to thrash out those naughty issues on the news. And what we need from you is to share and subscribe. More important, convince your loved ones, friends, relatives, co-worshippers, and more to subscribe so as to be getting notifications as we break the news. Go a step further, like the news, and drop your thoughts on the comment section. Clearview News. We clear the view one time and for all time.